What is up, guys? So I want to talk real quick about something that I was actually experiencing just a few hours ago, and I feel like it can really benefit you if you want to use this for your day-to-day life and just something to kind of throw in the back of your head. So the next time that you want to do something, I want you to remember one phrase. Willpower is like a muscle. And before you can build that muscle, before it becomes a natural secondhand strength to you, what you're gonna need to do is start doing the small stuff. You're gonna have to start waking up early when you say you're gonna wake up early. You're gonna have to start studying when you say you're gonna study. And doing all the little things that you've already committed to, that way you're starting to create new neural pathways that show your brain, this is the way that I do things. When I set a goal, I make sure it happens. When I say I'm gonna do something, I make sure I follow through with it. And now when it comes to the big things in life, like making more money, getting a new car, buying a house, you're already implanting the muscles into your brain that show you once you set after that goal, you're gonna keep going every step of the way. So remember, we need to start small when it comes to willpower. Don't be afraid to set little small dumb stuff for yourself. Set a reminder on your phone. Every hour you're gonna say one thing that you're grateful for. Second you stop doing it, that's when it becomes okay in your subconscious mind for you to quit on what you set out to do. So remember, it's very important that we hold ourselves accountable to doing this. And one of the best things that I find to hold myself accountable is to have a whiteboard and literally mark down what you have to do each day. So your non-negotiables. For example, I have to drink my green juice. I have to work out. I have to make my bed. I have to read 10 pages out of a book. I need to post something on Instagram. And we have all of these categories we need to hit every single day, or whatever that might look like for you. And once we make them non-negotiable, no matter what happens, that's gonna be our new standard of living. We're gonna need to do these things in order to be successful for our day, and literally go and check it off. Each one as you go, check, check. And that way, every time you check something off your goal, you're putting yourself in that mindset of accomplishment. And once you set your mind on accomplishing something, it's just gonna flow like dominoes. And the rest of your list, you're gonna be able to just knock it out, knock it out, knock it out. But it's so important when you create that first list, you stick to it. Don't change it up. Don't say, hey, today's busy. Hey, this is going on. Hey, we're in quarantine. I can't work out today. Because once you start to make excuses for why you can't do something, your brain's gonna justify every little thing that comes in your way that puts any sort of roadblock or hurdle into your life. That we can find excuses when we don't want to do something. We're laying the path of our life down brick by brick every day. And think about it this way. Each brick that you build along the way is either going to stack up and build you higher, or just keep going one by one along the same path you've created and never level up. So what I encourage you guys to do today, keep your word to yourself, keep your word to people, and make sure when you set any sort of goal, any sort of paper that you're writing down, you accomplish that shit. You put your name on it, and you're going to start owning that. That's going to build the self-confidence in yourself that you know, if I say I'm gonna do something, it's done, and it's done well, because you put your energy, you put your hard work, and you put your focus into that. And once we truly raise our standards of lives and bring our wants and desires into needs and must, we're gonna see the quality of our life shift. And this is something that Tony Robbins talks about on a huge level, is that we must raise the standards and make everything a must if we want it to happen. Because in life, people don't always get what they want. They don't get what they desire. That's why you can't wish for something and say, hey, I wanna make $100,000 this year, but put no action behind it. But now, if your must is making $100,000 this year, you're gonna do the things necessary because it's something that you must do. What are 2 areas of your life that you can upgrade from wants to needs? Go ahead and write those down, and write down, I need to get this accomplished because, and write your why behind it. And when we can focus on the why we're doing things, we're bringing that much more energy and power into it, because that's our driving block. That's our heart usually. Our passion is going into the why. So write down, I'm going to accomplish this because it is something that I've always dreamed of. And put an end goal on that. Because a desire or a goal without any sort of deadline, without any sort of time-defined date, is just gonna be a wish at that point. So put your end date on there. So future pace it. It is now November 2020, and I have $100,536.28 in my bank account. I accomplished this because of my hard work, my perseverance, my passion into my project, and it feels amazing. I can see my friends cheering me on. I can see myself on a tropical vacation in Bali, lounging on the beach chair, enjoying a martini. I can hear my friends congratulating me, celebrating the journey with me, and I can feel a sense of accomplishment. So write down your goal, put why you accomplished it, what made you get there, give a time-defined outcome, so a certain date, and say what you see, what you hear, and what you feel 15 minutes after you've accomplished it. So we're not looking at just the end goal here. We're looking at past that and looking back on our timeline to see ourselves in that moment. And that's gonna draw a new level of energy and passion that you would not believe if you guys can write that down and try it out. Have you ever experienced a situation where you set out to do something when the day starts and you just somehow don't find yourself accomplishing it as that day is going on and on? Because I know I have. And one thing that I believed is that if I said I was gonna do it and I set the intention, it was gonna happen. And to a certain extent, that is a great way to start, but intention without action and accountability behind that action is gonna oftentimes lead to us not having a complete goals. And if there's one characteristic that I can gain today and just completely double my skill in it, it would be willpower. So willpower is like the building block for your entire life. And willpower, I believe, is the most important trait you can possibly have. And we're not always gonna be in a peak state of motivation, and that is okay. I think the first thing to realize is that it is not wrong to feel lazy one day. It is not wrong to skip the gym one day. Only once those daily occurrences become habits do you wanna check yourself. So have your intention set where you wanna make sure I go to the gym 5 times this week. And you have your action behind it, you actually go and you hold yourself accountable. So a lot of times what we fall off on is that accountability. It's easy to not do an action when we have nothing or no one holding ourselves accountable. So one of the biggest things that you can do is use a whiteboard and write down what you need to do and make sure you check it off before you get into bed that next night. And the best way to have this written out for your next morning is to have it the night before. That way you don't have to worry about it when you wake up. There's no excuse you slept in late. You already have that intention set, and when that morning comes, you just take immediate action on it. And then you're holding yourself accountable with that paper that you're going and checking right off. And I think the biggest thing, and it sounds so cliche when people say that time is the most valuable asset that we're ever gonna have. And if we worried about the energy and time we spend in our day, almost as much as the energy and time we spend with other people, once we hold ourselves to that high of a standard, that we're gonna make sure that every bit of our time is being used up and is being valued, because that's what's gonna get us further. And oftentimes, the most successful people are the ones that just did the little things consistently, because the keys to success aren't really secrets at all. It's more so basic guidelines, principles, and strategies that we all know. For example, reading. We all know that we should read, but the second we hear someone say, you gotta read more books, what goes off in our head is a little alarm. And I already know this alarm. And I feel like that is a disease that we can have, because that can spread into every aspect of our life. And the second that we hear something, even remotely like what we've heard before, we shut it out. But what we need to realize is everyone has their own message. Everyone has their own time. You might have heard something a year ago and completely hated it, but it might be very applicable to your life now. Or on the contrary, you might have heard something that you loved a year ago, you hear it again, and it inspires a whole new level of action. So keep an open mind, soak everything up like a sponge. Have a passion for learning, for wanting to develop yourself, and put that passion out into the world. Don't be afraid to tell people what you're doing. Hold yourselves accountable on social media. Hold yourselves accountable to your friends. And what I'd recommend for everyone to do, if I was starting out at 17, 18, 19, when I first started getting into self-development, I wish I had more friends that were in it. And I often felt kind of like I was alone in this journey, and like I was almost looked at weirdly for wanting to skip nights partying to study my craft or to watch YouTube videos on how to learn about sales, psychology, communication. And if I would have known where I'd be today just by doing that, I would have probably put twice as much energy into it, because it would have propelled me that much further than where I'm currently at, because we all have levels that we can get to. Not everyone is on the same level, but not everyone starts at the same level. You might look at that person on social media that seems to have it all. They have the job, the money, the car. And once we start comparing ourselves with people on social media and people that we see out in the media that have a certain style of life, we have to realize, very humbly speaking, we are not on that level. For better or for worse. And they could have been working to get to that level for the last 10 years, but we don't see that part. We only see the tip of the iceberg where their success is. But so much lies below it. So many long nights and dedicated hours are what really lie behind the success that anyone has. And it doesn't always need to be hard work. It doesn't always need to be smart work. Combine the two together and have consistency, and you're eventually gonna attract what you want to attract in your life. So what the law of attraction states is that like attracts like. And what we put out into the world is what we're gonna get back within. And if we focus on what we're without, we're never gonna be full within, because we're only setting our mind on an away motivated goal. For example, if my goal was to get in shape and I was fat, I would never wanna tell myself, I'm overweight. I don't wanna be overweight. My goal is not to be fat anymore. I'd only wanna say, my goal is to be in shape. If I was broke and wanted to change that situation, I wouldn't say my goal is to get out of debt. I'd say my goal is to make an abundant amount of money, because now we're focusing on abundant amount of money versus debt. And it doesn't matter if you're trying to get into debt or out of debt, the universe gives you what you ask for. And it doesn't know the difference between no, want, or doesn't want. All it hears is that main word that you're putting out there, and that's gonna attract more of into your life. You're gonna see more of the intention you set out. And this is the same reason, let's say you're going car shopping for a red Corvette, and once I set my intention on getting a red Corvette, before I can even afford one, every single time I left the streets, I'd see a red Corvette now, when I rarely saw them prior. And that is what is called our reticular activating system, beaming in like a laser to focus on that and bring more of it to us. So once we can actually set a proper goal and intention and put that action behind it, we're gonna be able to manifest it so easily. And it's gonna seem like a coincidence at first. It's gonna seem like luck to others, but it is far greater than that. It is the law of attraction working in our favor to bring us what we ask for. So our lives are like a game. They're meant to be won. And an often misconception is that our lives are meant to pay bills, do what we need to do, get by, retire, and be done. But I have no idea who set these standards on a very basic, mundane, redundant life. People like us are meant for something greater. People like you watching this, if you're spending the time to apply your knowledge to this, you're gonna be able to get that much more knowledge back out of the universe and propel you that much further. And people like you on this path of learning and studying and becoming a constant student of life are gonna be so much further ahead than you can possibly imagine 1 year from now, and 5 years from then, and 10 years from then. And it might seem like a very long journey. It might seem like you're fighting an uphill battle. And the honest news is that you are, and that's great. That uphill battle, you're collecting nuggets along the way, golden nuggets along each step of that ladder that you're climbing and climbing and climbing, that you're gonna be able to utilize to keep you at the top. Because a lot of people think once they get something, once they get somewhere, everything is good and they're happy and they're set. But once you get to that top level, you have to work that much harder now to maintain that. But we need to realize that journey is far more important than the destination is. And that's why the destination for everyone can be different, and this can be applicable because our journeys are gonna be the same. Our journeys are where we're really building ourselves, building that knowledge, and becoming the true versions of who we are, and not just being lucky or being given something. So if you were given $1 million, you'd probably lose it very quickly because you have no idea how to manage it, how to invest it, how to save it, where to put that money. You would just spend it like you spent your $1,000 check before. So that is exactly why willpower is like a muscle you have to build, just like money is. And if you're not responsible with the money you have now, what makes you think by any means you'd be responsible when you had double that income or triple that income? And the same way with your willpower. If we can't do the little things, there's no way we're gonna be able to do the big things like what it takes to become a CEO and to be running a company and to be in charge. The more along your journey you go, you're eventually gonna start hitting that peak, and that's where the momentum flies. So if you're not where you wanna be currently, never let your current situation define your future outcome. Because some people get lost in the mud they're in. They're like, hey, I'm struggling, I'm in quicksand, I can't get out. Keep going, keep fighting. If you seem like you're in a dark place in life, keep going to get to that light. And I can promise you there's so many people that are either in your same path or have been in your path before. So I encourage you, reach out to people. Reach out to a coach, a mentor, a friend, a buddy, an old high school person you haven't talked to in 10 years. Someone who's either been on that journey before and can guide you out of there, or someone who you can make that trek together so you don't feel so lonely. Because I promise you, there are so many people in this world that would love to help you, that would love to have someone just to talk to about these issues. It's very cool to talk about what we're doing on the weekends and new music out, and trust me, I love that stuff too. But what's really unique and what's really rare and builds a certain kind of bond is when you can talk to someone about what your future goals are, about what scares you, about how you think you're gonna get to these goals, how you can help your friends get to theirs, how you guys can hold each other accountable. And that certain level of vulnerability, it's something that I struggled with and I still do for the longest time, where I felt like I can do everything on my own. And you might be able to get pretty far doing it on your own, but having a positive support group is vital. If you don't have a small, close group of friends that want to see you succeed, you're probably not going to want to see the next person succeed because that's not normal for you to be supportive. So supportive, close, tight-knit friend groups. Consider your friend group like a circle of masterminds. Every time you guys come together, you all want to benefit each other. And it doesn't always need to be cheesy information or motivation. You guys can go out to the bar and motivate each other to want to do better, to want to drink one more beer, I'm just kidding, to want to go talk to a girl or guy. Motivate yourselves to get out of your comfort zone. And the reason why change is so hard, it's very simple. There's no complex equation on what it takes to become better at making change. It's a very simple strategy, and it's willpower. Be willing to make small changes, and the big changes are going to be that much easier for you. Once you let that momentum keep guiding you, it's going to push you so much further than you could possibly imagine. And it might seem hard at the beginning. It might seem like that it's taking so long to get there. but you're so close to a breakthrough and you have to keep pushing. You have no idea how close you are and how many people you've been inspiring with your journey. So today I encourage you, do the small things it takes, set the small goals, smash the small goals, and you're gonna be so much closer to smashing those big ones.